Astrology. This is the birth chart for young MA, and I don't have the birth time for her, so there's no houses. She's a sun and moon in Aries, Mars in Pisces. And let's start with this Mars in Pisces. She recently had some health issues, and Saturn was directly on her Mars when she experienced these health issues. And I don't really know what the health issues were. All I know is when Saturn, a malefic, goes over Mars, another malefic, and you have some things going on and you've been in denial or not aware of them, then definitely things can happen. And I did read something about addiction issues. I know in her music and her videos she talks about drinking, and I actually like her music a lot. Uh, I think her music is really really good. Uh, if you're interested in rap music, and so let's look at this idea of addiction. With that Mars in Pisces, she has Venus in Pisces. Mercury's at 0 degrees Aries, retrograde, so we could almost throw that in there and say Mercury's at 30 degrees Pisces. So three planets in Pisces, and oftentimes people that have 12th house or Pisces do have addiction issues. They'll have times in their life where they experience alcoholism, drug addiction, and usually it's tempered with like maybe a back and forth where there's periods that are worse. There's maybe periods of um, abstinence. I don't know if that's the right word, abstinence, or just being clean. And I bet if we saw her houses, she would have some 12th house as well. And we also see Jupiter. It's in Virgo, the opposite sign of Pisces. So when we see planets in Pisces, or I'm sorry, we see planets in a sign, remember that the opposite side is going to be emphasized. The opposite sign is going to be emphasized at some level as well. So lots of emphasis here on Pisces and Virgo. We can look at this Saturn transit to Mars, where she's uh, forced to go through a healing process. Jupiter and Virgo. When we see Virgo in the chart, you could say there's some illness or some lessons or reason to go through a healing process in life. And if you're not able to get the right help, or if you're not able to heal, you don't have time to heal, you could possibly get very sick and possibly die. So it seems like with this transit Saturn to Mars, she's kind of being woken up to some of the issues that she may need to look at. And we see the North Node. The North Node. Well, let's go back here to this Sun and Moon in Aries, and it's in the Leo decan. So she's definitely fire, with lots of fire, with the idea of performing. You could tell she's comfortable in front of the camera. She likes to perform. She's can come across arrogant. When we think of Aries, can come across as arrogant, but it could also be looked at as confident, like very much a go-getter. And I think her story, I don't know her story exactly, but kind of speculating here from what I've seen, she's on YouTube and she's built her reputation on YouTube. So that idea of being very much an individualist and doing it on her own, building her business herself, as opposed to maybe being signed by a label or promoted by a label. It's very much Aries-like. And she's also a lesbian. So we see Aquarius, we see Saturn in Aquarius, and you could even look at like the idea of air and fire, which a lot of times we see air and fire involved in bisexuality or homosexuality. But in her case, that she kind of carries that chip on her shoulder. Like it's like, yeah, this is how I am, and if you don't like it, go fuck yourself. And that would definitely be that combination of Aries and Aquarius. very masculine like female. But at the same time, she has that Venus in Pisces, like very likable. Probably part of the reason why she's successful is that she has that Venus in Pisces where people probably notice in her uh, a very like collective understanding of humanity. And I bet she'd be a really cool person to have philosophical discussions with, for sure. Like a very wise soul from at some at some level. Maybe that's where the addiction comes from, and alcoholism from like some kind of deep pain, trauma. And we can look at that because that often correlates with Aquarius and Uranus. And she is a YouTuber. I talk a lot about people being successful people on YouTube. So let's look here at this Uranus, and it's moving the North Node. It's moving. It's just moving away from that North Node. So we see the planet of the internet. Um, I could call it the planet of YouTube being there conjunct the North Node. And the ruler is in Aquarius. Saturn is in Aquarius. She has this Uranus conjunct Neptune. She has Uranus squaring Venus. I'm sorry, sextiling Venus. So there's an opportunity. She's coming from a place of opportunity when it comes to money and Venus in Pisces, finances, expanding, expanding her reach into the greater population through the internet, Aquarius. She has a Uranus. Well, we don't know the moon exactly where it is, but it's close. It's probably close to that. Definitely, well, considering who she is, definitely got to be close to that Uranus, and that would be making a square. And her sun is definitely squaring Uranus. We could also say that there is a almost exact quintile between Uranus and Mercury. And I'll link these down in the description if you don't know what they are. I'll link my quintile video down below. That's a talent. You can see it's linked with her mind. Uranus is the higher mind, higher octave of Mercury. Mercury being our conscious, maybe you could say everyday mind. It's associated with Gemini. She has Mercury retrograde, so more emphasis on the Uranian mind. It's also making a loose trine to Jupiter. So a lot of Uranus here, the south and the north node, the south node being ruled by the moon, south node here in Cancer being ruled by the moon, and that moon again squaring Uranus and conjunct a planet that is squaring Uranus. So lots of Uranian energy with her. I'm not going to get into what that means. If you want to look into that, you can just look up Aquarius, and it's also co-ruled by Saturn, so it's not as if it's not all this type of energy. I mean, she does have Saturn in Aquarius. Saturn does co-rule Aquarius, so she's very. You can even see there's a semi-sextile between the two planets, so that's like a kind of a little bit of an opportunity where she has the work ethic too. So it's like you could think of far out extreme Uranus people. They don't really have that Saturnian element to put in the work and to be consistent and to be practical. And she has, even with that North Node in Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn, she has that practical nature about her. One more thing, or a couple more things. She has this Pluto Saturn square and a Pluto Mars trine. And I like the Pluto Mars trine. I have it. It gives very ambitious quality, and you can see it's in Pisces and Scorpio for her. So she's a natural psychologist. I think it's very good it creates an interesting type of mind that can that I think has a lot of intelligence and wisdom about them because of their ambition, because of their experience. They have They have that go-getting quality, which gives them a lot of experience, which can create a very all-around and intelligent mind. So I'm going to leave it there for now. That's Young MA. Hope that helps you understand astrology and understand her chart, and hopefully understand yourself better. And also check out, if you're new here, check out my playlist. I have hundreds of other videos on other famous people, and I hope you have a great day.